Well, we've got Vaden Chandler on the line, and we're going to talk about his book, A Little Bird Told Me, the story of three men encountering their own personal demons and how they ultimately collide on one nondescript Labour Day afternoon. Now, how are you, by the way, Vaden?
I'm all right. I've had a few Bang energy drinks, to get me going, so I'm good.
I guess it's quite early where you are right now.
Yeah. It's about 10 till 8 here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
wow. Now, what actually inspired you to write this book?
I had an event happen to me when it was Labor Day 2015, and I just barely can tell the story without getting too emotional about it. But I mean, I've always been a writer. I've always, and I was writing on that day. I was writing on that day on a site called Text Broker. I'm sure you've heard of it.
Yeah.
Um, and what I would do, I was at my old man's house. We have a pretty close family and all that. And what I would do is I would write an article and I would take a break and I would walk to my local park. I've done a lot of walking too. Probably a little bit too much, but I was doing that on that day, and I kept seeing a van at my park, a weird, strange van, a weird late model van. And the first time I saw the van, it's kind of a long story, so let me try to summarize it. First time I saw the van, it was about 12:30. I didn't think anything of it, and I went back and I did some more writing. Second time I saw the van, it was about 2. Still didn't think anything of it. The third time I saw the van, my third break, it was about 4:30. And now I'm starting to get nervous. I'm like, why is this guy still here? What is he doing? I still didn't do anything about it. I figured the guy must be homeless or he's having some issues or something. So I went back, I did some more writing, and I remember, just as clear as a bell, I still remember it. It was 6:30, and I remember thinking, surely that van is gone now. Surely he's gone. Surely he's moved on. And Toby, he wasn't. He wasn't
Wow.
gone. He's still there. It had to have been at least 6 hours, and he hadn't budged from the spot. And so I did my little thing, my walk around the park, and I was going back to my house to do some more work. And we have the high school on one side, and there's a real long avenue and it's a real long sidewalk, and my name's on that marquee, because my name's on that marquee, and I get about halfway down that sidewalk. It's about the length of an American football field. And I don't want to say it was an audible voice, Toby, but it was something told me that Vaden, call the police on that van. And I didn't listen. I took a few more steps. I'm like, no, I don't want to bother this guy. It's weird. I don't want to bother this guy. I'm just going to let it go. And I took a few more steps, and whatever voice it was, it came back louder. It was like, Vaden, call the police on that van. So I did, okay?
Wow.
And I could tell that they weren't really taking me seriously about it because I'm on the autism spectrum. I'm a little bit different.
Yeah.
I'll be the first to admit it. I'm kind of an acquired taste. And I'm like, well, I'll just let you guys sort it out. It's probably nothing. Just please send somebody. And they did. And I got home. I got to my father's house, and I was drinking some of Mom's really famous iced tea. She was in the nursing home. He was there taking care of her. And I just sitting there listening to what they found out on the police scanner. Dad's had a police scanner for years and years and years. And I was listening to it, and they said that he was, I was totally shocked. They said he was a registered sex offender. So, and like I said, I know this is a really, really long story behind this, but I honestly believe that man was trying to kidnap a child that day. So, so what ended up happening is, I think it was a few years after that I decided, this would really make a good book. It really would. And I thought about writing a memoir about it, and then I thought, how about a work of fiction? So the book is about a registered sex offender that decides that he wants to get even and try to kidnap a child, but at the very last minute, a small town idiot stops him, and I was that small town idiot.
Why do you think somebody's going to want to read a book about a registered sex offender? Because maybe it's a little bit weird to enjoy that.
It's a bit heavy, but I mean, it wouldn't appeal to everybody, but people people that like suspense novels and people that like crime novels and people that kind of like thrillers, they might like it. And the way that I tried to approach it is I didn't want to get too graphic about it. I didn't want to, but at the end of the day, everybody can rest assured the bad guy gets caught, he gets in trouble, just like he's supposed to.
Yeah. And why is it called A Little Bird Told Me?
It's kind of a metaphor, it's kind of like, life's just going on, and it's like nobody's really paying any attention, and it's just like that. Life just keeps going on until something happens, and then it just turns everything upside down. You think of like the Oklahoma City bombing, you think of 9/11, you think of all these things that happened, and it just nobody saw it coming,
Yeah.
And I just believe this guy was trying. I really, really do, and I wanted to write a book about that. And I wanted to write a book where some kind of higher power always, a higher power intervene in this situation. That's what I believe.
And you've been writing since you were 6 years old. So how does it feel to have written a book that's perhaps so personal to you because it's based on your own testimony?
Well, it's interesting because I really grappled about this, and I was getting ready to get married at the time, get remarried. And I just, I wasn't the best first husband. I mean, I'm a little bit obnoxious to this one too, and it's kind of something I needed to do to get some closure, sort of, on the situation. And it was kind of a trauma. It was kind of traumatic, and it was weird because it wasn't supposed to be me, really, if that makes any sense. It wasn't supposed to be me that did it. It was supposed to be, like the typical people. It was supposed to be like, and that's why I kind of included a corrupt local police chief in the book too. It should have been him. It wasn't. It was just some ordinary guy, that's always overlooked, and that's usually the way it happens sometimes too, because when you read scripture, I mean, this higher power, this higher being, whatever you subscribe to, even if it's just intuition, if you don't believe at all, they don't have to use the most obvious choice. They could use any one they want, So that's kind of the way that I've looked at it.
And have you got any more books planned?
Yeah, I have some more books planned. I decided I might as well just keep writing.
Yes.
My working title for the next one it's called, and this one's totally made up, it's called Salvation of Fate. Ooh. Is what I've called it. And this book is about a guy that goes to this really ritzy, preppy charter school, and he's really well off, and his father's really rich, and he's a used car salesman, and he decides he wants to do a school shooting. Oh. And so he sneaks in to the school in the middle of the night, but there's a janitor there that stops him. But at the end, he decides to come clean to the principal. The janitor lets him out a side door and says, I'm not going to tell anybody that you were over here, but you have to tell somebody, you have to get help. I mean, he's got, the janitor got all his guns away from him and all that. And it has a happy ending. And he's like, well, I need to come clean to the principal. And the principal says, well, I'm glad you admitted this, but we don't have a janitor that works the night shift. Mm-hmm. And the way I was going to end that is I was going to have him reminiscing on it and saying, who was he, referring to the janitor? I guess I'll never know. Just kind of a Stephen King-ish ending there,
Have you just spoiled the whole book, or are there more surprises than that?
Well, hopefully there is, yeah. I'm a little bit new to this stuff, I just totally ruined it. So, yeah, I'm pretty bad about.
Yeah. Well, where are we able to find this current book called A Little Bird Told Me, Three Men Facing Their Own Demons?
You can find it on Amazon. It's on Amazon. It's on Barnes and Noble. It's just called A Little Bird Told Me. It's by Vaden Chandler. It's V like Valentine's Day, ADENCHANDLER. Yep, and I was very proud that I could help out my community on that day. And I kind of spoiled this book too, but I mean, you can still read through it and try to get to know the characters and stuff.
Kind of makes me want to read it even more somehow. But thanks very much for joining us today. It's been great to have you on the show.
Thank you, Toby. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.